Okay, just the last little bit of chapter 2. It's only like a few pages. Okay. Um, they let me keep the shots that they don't use, so at least I have my own private files of stuff I like. And once in a while, another magazine will take one or two, excuse me, where I can write an article on a place I've been and illustrate it with something a little more daring than the National Geographic prefers. Sometimes I'm going to do an essay. Sometime I'm going to do an essay called The Virtues of Amateurism for all of those people who wish they earned a living in the arts. The market kills more artistic passion than anything else. It's a world of safety out there for most people. They want safety. The magazines and manufacturers give them safety, give them homogeneity. There we go, homogeneity. Give them the familiar and comfortable. Don't challenge them. Profit and subscriptions and the rest of that stuff dominate art. We're all getting lashed to the great will of uniformity. The marketing people are always talking about something called consumers. I have this image of a fat little man in baggy Bermuda shorts, a Hawaiian shirt, and a straw hat with beer can openers dangling from it, clutching fistful of dollars. Francesca laughed quietly, thinking about safety and comfort. But I'm not complaining too much. Like I said, traveling is good, and I like fooling with cameras and being out of doors. The reality is not exactly what the song started out to be, but it's not a bad song. Francesca supposed that, for Robert Kincaid, this was everyday talk. For her, it was the stuff of literature. People in Madison County didn't talk this way about these things. The talk was about weather and farm prices and new babies and funerals and government programs and athletic teams, not about art and dreams, not about realities that keep the music silent, the dreams in a box. He finished chopping vegetables. Anything else I can do? She shook her head. No, it's about under control. He sat at the table again, smoking, taking a drink of beer now and then. She cooked, sipping on her beer between tasks. She could feel the alcohol, even the small amount of it. On New Year's Eve at the Legion Hall, she and Richard would have some drinks. Other than that, not much, and there seldom was liquor in the house, except for a bottle of brandy she had bought once, in some vague spasm of hope for romance in their country lives. The bottle was still unopened. Let me turn around. Vegetable oil, 1 1/2 cups of vegetables, cooked, cook until light brown. Add flour and mix well. Add water, a pint of it. Add remaining vegetables and seasonings. Cook slowly for about 40 minutes. With the cooking underway, Francesca sat across from him once again. Modest intimacy descended upon the kitchen. It came somehow from the cooking. Fixing supper for a stranger, with him chopping turnips and therefore distance beside you, removed some of the strangeness, and with the loss of strangeness there was space for intimacy. He pushed the cigarettes toward her, the lighter on the top of the package. She shook one out, fumbled with the lighter, felt clumsy. It wouldn't catch. He smiled a little, carefully took the lighter from her hand and flipped the flint wheel twice before it caught. He held it, and she lit her cigarette. Around men, she usually felt graceful in comparison to them. Not around Robert Kincaid, though. A white sun had turned big red and lay just over the cornfields. Through the kitchen window, she could see a hawk riding the early evening updraft. The 7 o'clock news and market summary were on the radio, and Francesca looked across the yellow formica toward Robert Kincaid, who had come a long way to her kitchen, a long way, across more than miles. It already smells good, he said, pointing toward the stove. It smells quiet. He looked at her. Quiet? Could something smell quiet? She was thinking about the phrase, asking herself. He was right. After the pork chops and steaks and roast she cooked for the family, this was quiet cooking. No violence involved anywhere down the food chain, except maybe for pulling up the vegetables. The stew cooked quietly and smelled quiet. It was quiet here in the kitchen. If you don't mind, tell me a little bit about your life in Italy. He was stretched out on the chair, his right leg crossed over his left at the ankles. Silence bothered her around him, so she talked. Told him about her growing up years, the private school, the nuns, her parents, housewife, bank manager, about standing along the seawall as a teenager and watching ships from all over the world, about the American soldiers that came later, about meeting Richard in a cafe where she and some girls were drinking coffee. The war had disrupted lives, and they wondered if they would ever get married. She was silent about Niccolo. He listened, saying nothing, nodding and understanding occasionally. When she finally paused, he said, "And you have children, did you say?" "Yes, Michael's 17, Carolyn is 16. They both go to school in Winterset. They're in 4-H, that's why they're at the Illinois State Fair, showing Carolyn's steer. Something I've never been able to adapt to understand, is how they can lavish such love and care on the animals, and then see them sold for slaughter. I don't dare say anything about it, though. Richard and his friends would beat down on me in a flash, but there's some kind of cold, unfeeling contradiction in that business." She felt guilty mentioning Richard's name. She hadn't done anything at all, yet she could feel guilt, a guilt born of distant possibilities, and she wondered how to manage the end of the evening, and if she had gotten herself into something she couldn't handle. Maybe Robert Kincaid would just leave. He seemed pretty quiet, nice enough, even a little bashful. As they talked on, the evening turned blue, light fog brushing the meadow grass. He opened 2 more beers for them while Francesca's stew cooked quietly. She rose and dropped dumplings into the boiling water, turned and leaned against the sink, feeling warm toward Robert Kincaid from Bellingham, Washington, hoping he wouldn't leave too early. He ate 2 helpings of the stew with quiet, good manners, and told her twice how fine it was. The watermelon was perfect. The beer was cold. The evening was blue. Francesca Johnson was 45 years old, and Hank Snow sang a train song on KMA, Shenandoah, Iowa. That's the end of that chapter. The next chapter coming up will be Ancient Evenings, Distant Music. All right, made it through.